The economy is sputtering, the war on terror is heating up, and the size and scope of government are expanding to levels we've never seen before. So where is President Obama spending his time during this hour of crisis? Well, as of next week, he'll be in Copenhagen, fighting global warming. So for those of you who are barely making ends meet, don't worry. The President will be right with you as soon as he figures out a way to get SUVs to run on oregano. Of course, the President will be making his trip to Denmark on Air Force One, not exactly a Prius. And while we can't be certain, it's unlikely that Angela Merkel is going to show up on a bicycle, or that Nicolas Sarkozy is going to ride into town on a mule. But if the global warming alarmists have their way, that may be how you and I get around from now on. Under the proposed reductions in carbon emissions that Obama will be taking to Copenhagen, the U.S. would revert to per capita emissions rates not seen since the 1870s. You know, back when horsepower was a term that was used literally. So why would the President and his elitist friends from around the world try to shut down the engines of growth at a time when the economy is already in peril? Because it's good business for their well-connected friends. Since leaving office, Al Gore has made tens of millions of dollars by convincing the American people that doomsday is right around the corner. The Department of Energy is handing out billions in grant money. And environmental advocacy groups throughout the nation are living the good life courtesy of corporate donors, liberal entertainers, and other groups who are known for writing checks first and asking questions later. Recently, we saw just how far the warming mongers would go to preserve their privileged lifestyles when a series of emails from some of the leading alarmists were made public. Behind closed doors, these supposedly respectable scientists were conspiring to hide embarrassing data, keep the public from having access to their research, and pressure scientific journals to squelch dissent. Of course, they were just doing their moral duty to uphold the consensus view of the scientific community. We're pretty sure that's the same thing Galileo was told. Attempts to close the gates on science inevitably result in the likes of Climategate and the loss of public trust. It's becoming increasingly clear that the global warming scare has more to do with the pocketbook than it does with the planet. But while the Al Gores of the world get rich, millions of Americans will be threatened with higher taxes, lower standards of living, and disappearing jobs if the alarmists win the day. We don't think it's too much to ask for President Obama to focus on those kitchen table issues instead of a green revolution. But if he doesn't, we're confident that he'll eventually learn his lesson. Even presidents sometimes find themselves unemployed. That's this week's Freedom Minute.